No. Actually, wait, I want to
That's
engage
the
with
real
that,
question. Well,
okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering if somebody for
I
theoretical
do want people to answer Destiny's question, though. I'll let you go, but I want to engage with that point, right? Destiny made a point here. Like, do you have the right, a doctor, right, a cardiologist, someone refuses
so
to
like
provide
in that
care?
specific scenario, I would assume that a doctor, first of all, would probably just help that person anyway. But let's just say they're not.
Wait, hold on, real quick. Big Papa Buckaroo, your mic, you lagged a ton during that. That's why everybody cut you off. It's because your thing was lagging, so nobody could hear you speak.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Okay, sorry.
Thank
you.
Do I go or Papa?
You can go, whoever wants to understand.
Yeah, so like if the doctor is, oh, hey, the system's not going to pay me, so I'm not going to help you. I think in a situation where someone was having a heart attack right in front of them, but regardless, for the sake of the hypothetical, let's say, oh, he's not going to do it because the system tells him he won't, and he will lose his job if he does end up doing that. I think the difference, and Professor, you were saying, oh, well, wouldn't the CEO get fired too? Yes, but the difference is the CEO has options afterwards, but someone in that system may or may not have options once they are fired. Maybe it's literally they're weighing their livelihood over someone else, and I would judge someone weighing their self over someone else. It's a 1-to-1, way less than it would someone who is completely capable of getting fired, surviving off the money he's built from being a CEO, and using that power and leverage and clout to go and spread the word, whistleblow, and say, hey, this is not okay.
How do you square that away with executing Nazi prison guards then?
How do I square? Well, because Nazis, it's not just, it's literally worse with Nazi prison guards. They would get killed if they would try to defect, right?
Yeah, but I thought you said that they should have been held fully responsible for what they did, or maybe that wasn't your claim.
Okay, I see. I say if they were actually engaged in those acts, if they had no other recourse, it's a lot harder to say, like, hey, like, did you have an opportunity to, like, when you were on a march to go run off? Or
Hold on, just to be clear, a citizen living in Nazi Germany probably had a lot less recourse than a fucking person that works in health insurance billing or something, right? Or
sure. Again, but
right?
It depends on if they're directly involved in, like, hey, I was shooting people in the back of the head while they tried to escape. Like, it's a little harder. It's a little more ambiguous, and I'd have to read up on the actual circumstances. There's a bunch of books I haven't gotten to, so. But I can see the inconsistency there, just to be fair. I'm
actually curious if somebody, for example, was having an acute mental event and they went out and committed a violent crime, and they had some sort of proposed reasoning behind it, but ultimately it was an acute mental event after a period of time of social alienation. Would you think that he should be killed?
The person having
would it be justified for his killing?
Like killed at what point? Like in self-defense or after he'd already committed the act?
After he committed the act.
No, I think he should probably be arrested, and then the criminal justice system should treat him appropriately, right? If he was having a mental episode, then you weigh that differently, obviously, right?
Yeah, I guess the reason I'm asking is because at least with the New York statute on terrorism explicitly, it does bring the death penalty to the table in the first place. So when we're talking about whether or not Luigi is a terrorist, I do think that's something worth considering if the answer is yes, because he could be killed for exactly that.
Yeah, but then I mean that's going to be up to the prosecution to prove that he was of sound mind when he decided to murder the guy, right?
This is a defense that he could mount, right? He's pled not guilty. He could plead not guilty by reason of insanity. Like, there's all sorts of reasons why he could plead not guilty. But yeah, that's going to be up to them to prove. Like, if you plead insanity, it's a defense that you have to make a positive case for. So
I understand it's different when it comes to how it plays out in court. I was just asking about your personal opinion, Eucharist. I would love to hear your personal opinion on that as well. If having an acute mental event is justification ultimately.
Yeah, I'm in to quote Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction, I'm in a bit of a transitional period when it comes to the death penalty in general. So I'm not entirely sure how to answer the question, but
I would say,
I think same thing as Destiny. Like, I think we handle it well in our justice system, which is saying, like, there's a certain class of people where we can understand why they did something that we would ordinarily kill someone for, that this person we might want to give them alternative, life in prison or some sort of mental health accommodation. I'm sure, but that's a thing that would have to be positively defended in court.
Here's a question.
Destiny, I would love to know I would really quick. I would just love to know, Destiny, your position on the death penalty.
I'm like 51-49 in favor of it. I can understand it being a class of crimes, or somebody does something so horrible that the state and the people have decided that this is your penalty for this is death. Obviously, innocent people being executed sucks, but I don't have a strong feeling on it one way or another. I could be argued either way.
Okay, so my follow-up question is: let's say hypothetical again. Let's say Luigi finds out that Brian Thompson actually has a fatal form of cancer. And instead of going the short term, instead of just going and attacking him on the street, he actually figures out how to get a job at Brian Thompson's insurer. And then he becomes Brian Thompson's insurance agent. And then he instead just denies all of the claims for chemotherapy. Would you be in support of his claim denial then if it resulted in Brian Thompson's death?
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of it, but it doesn't even matter what the result is. The criminal intent was there to try to kill somebody, right?
Yeah, that speaks.
If
to
someone
like
could
intent.
accomplish this Looney Tunes level of conspiring, I'm not going to support it in principle,
I mean,
but I would.
Look, this is a Hallmark movie in the making.
I mean, even on the street, it would have been interesting if he just released a bunch of marbles and saw what happened. You know,
Sure.
I think
hold on. If I may, a more pertinent question along those lines, Buckaroo, the person who had the violent mental episode. It's shown later that they could have gotten care, like mental therapy, etc. The insurance, for whatever reason, didn't cover it. Are those insurance people who denied the coverage? Are they on the list? Are they responsible for what that man did?
I mean, my answer has been probably unsatisfactorily vague, because I think, of course, they would have played a part in it, but I don't think they, I don't think they beat somebody to death. I don't think they went out and committed a killing. I think the degree of separation does matter, but I don't think it completely removes any responsibility from people who are actively involved in the
But when we talk about
place.
holding people responsible, right? The problem with things like holding people accountable, holding people responsible is you can mean a wide variety of things when you say that. Holding someone accountable could mean something like scolding, a fine, simply not going to another insurance company, a whole host of things, or it could mean literally putting them in front of a trial and charging them for murder, right? So when we make things like how responsible are they, these things, I just want us to be a little more specific when these things. And again, to your side's points here, I'm still waiting, right, for like this justification. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing a justification of why it's okay that Luigi went out, got a gun, shot a man 3 times in the back, who, again, never did anything personally to him. He didn't deny him any coverage. At least he wasn't even his insurance provider. Like, what makes this okay? And I'm hearing a lot of vague statistics about how people don't like health insurance. Fair, but there's multiple ways to change that in the American system that, it just doesn't justify this at all.
I understand that. I actually think there should be an explicit differentiation between justification and whether it's morally good or bad. Whether I think something's morally good or bad doesn't change whether I think it was justified as a result.
Do you think it was morally good?
No.
Wait, how many people, just as a quick sanity check, I'm sorry, because I don't even know what our positions are right now in this debate. How many people in here think that it was like morally acceptable to whack the CEO dude?
No.
Okay, so now I thought this was like 3 on one side and 2 on the other, but now I feel like we're 1 on. Okay.
Well, that's why earlier when we brought up the question of justification, I said that I felt differently. That's why I kind of did a little because I think there is some justification for it, because I think a part of it is just a result of the interactions between these 2 people. I think you can't.
Well, stop saying interactions between these 2 people, because there were no negative interactions between him and the healthcare system, right? It sounds like.
Do you just mean then that you understand why he did it? I'm just trying to figure out
what here, because this is getting a little ridiculous. The phrasing of okay was fucking retarded. Was morally okay. That's way too fucking broad. The question is, am I okay with it? No, it's what am I going to do? What do I feel responsible for as a citizen if somebody engages in a crime against somebody else? That question becomes a lot more complicated the greater the scale of the crime is, and my personal motivation to do something is going to be different depending on how far removed I am from that other person, as well as their own moral character. That's the problem. If Stalin gets mugged, murdered, and raped in that order in an alleyway, I don't have to view the mugger, murderer, rapist as a hero in any capacity. But I do get to be happy that Stalin is dead. if I've been negatively affected by Stalin, or if I regard him as being
Are you
having
happy
a negative
that the
effect.
CEO of that Brian Thompson is dead?
Very.
Okay.
Maybe that's what we should have asked. I don't know, because to me, that's sort of what I'm looking for. Are you happy that he's dead? Is it a good thing that happened?
Yeah,
if you want to separate,
I think that people who
moral,
if you're engaged in
question.
I think that one of the most vicious, disgusting crimes that you can engage in the insurance industry. Sorry, tripping over my words. In the insurance industry specifically, because you're breaking trust, which is not only going away from your financial responsibilities, but like you are selling trust to begin with.
Just as a quick heads up, because we keep going back here, but nobody has any numbers. Like the vibe on the other side is that health insurance companies, when they deny things, they're just doing it for profit and for lulz and just to fuck with people. And it's all
not the vibe. It's the documented cases from McKinsey and all these other companies.
I don't think it is the documented cases. None of
it's
the numbers
literally
presented.
they let it out in the documents. Go fucking read them. I know you haven't, but just go read them now. Like you have time. The leaked documents from the McKinsey Allstate company.
He's specifically referring to the McKinsey and company documents that were.
One at a time. Hold up. You're all three talking at the same time. One at a time. One person. Explain this. Go ahead, Buckaroo. You're the most eager.
This is a McKinsey and Company documents. McKinsey and Company is a consulting firm that was hired by I think it was 5 of the biggest insurance companies in the United States in
health
the
insurance
90s
companies or
insurance companies, because insurance companies in general cover more options than just health insurance. And when you're talking about things like auto insurance will usually cover a part of the claim, and then the rest of the claim goes to the health insurance company. When it comes,
do you understand that health insurance is like is a very special and separate, like unique industry? It's not, I don't think it's comparable easily to other types of industries. Like we use health insurance way differently than we use any other type of insurance. And the amount of regulatory framework around... I was
just explaining to you that when we're talking about things like car insurance, health insurance, they are at least to a certain extent intertwined, because at first the claim goes to the car insurance and then it goes to health insurance afterwards. Once the car insurance, if, for example, you get into an accident and I'll use my grandmother's experience. Actually, that's why I'm in her house with these beautiful curtains. My grandmother was recently hit by a car. She was hit by a car. The person who hit her was insured, and because of that, her claim first goes to the auto insurance, goes to the claimant's auto insurance. The claimant being the person who hit her in the first place, and then the auto insurance gets to pay out a certain amount of the claim. Then it gets bumped to health insurance to finish paying out the claim. Now, when it comes to the McKinsey and Company documents, these are documents that were exposed in a legislation. I don't remember the specific case, but during a case with Allstate explicitly, where Allstate released the documents that were given to them by the consulting firm that list in, I believe, like 150 pages exactly the tactics they should be utilizing in insurance agencies. This was in the 1990s, which is also
Papa, they didn't release them. They prevented them from coming out for weeks and weeks and years until
they prevented them from coming out. And then when they did give them over, they actually gave them unphotocopiable papers. They made it so you couldn't photocopy them. And then after having those returned by the lawyer, the Allstate then just waited around before eventually being forced to give up these documents. But they are documents from the consulting firm explicitly establishing a new standard of how insurance agencies should pursue paying out claims. And this was
after the release of these documents, was any company prosecuted?
No, they weren't. It was crazy.
Were there any investigations into any of these companies?
Yeah, there were, and they found them not to be like criminally liable. In fact, every time this happens, the same with the Andrew Cuomo case in 2009, where they say, hey, you are not calculating reasonable and customary fees with your systems. You are defrauding customers. These are like exact words. No criminal charges. No criminal charges ever come of this. And that's my whole point of, if these people are never going to be criminally charged for the actions of denying people rightful care, which again,
so how
just for the sake of hypothetical, just assume it's happening.
Why is it in your mind? No. We can't just assume it's happening, because obviously that's the entire argument.
Well, that's how we get to be more interesting.
Why are you assuming that? Well, it's not more interesting. It's boring because we all agree past that point. I think all of us here agree. Well,
I don't think we do.
I could get you, Christopher. If the companies were literally like maliciously denying claims just to watch people die for the lulz and money, right? You have a very strong argument for engaging in
it's just the money, not the lulz. But if that's true, I think I can convert you.
You have some argument there,
possibly.
But why would you assume that if they weren't able to actually convict anybody, why would you assume that it was all? What is the implication, that the government was being corrupt and not investigating?
No, the implication is that people view the status quo of denying people using a system. It's not directly killing someone. It's not directly robbing someone. I'm just using a computer. The computer has this segmented way of processing claims, and that way is not giving people what they rightfully owe. Hey, you guys need to fix this. What do you mean?
You just begged away all of the what they rightfully owe. So that would be, I would imagine, that would be at the very least tort. At the very least, you've got contract violation.
It's what's first of all, tort is everything except contract violations. Second of all, if you're giving, you're promising this is what we're going to pay out if you give us this money, and you don't do that when it's rightfully owed. If there's all these cases coming out where they're saying, hey, here's all the documents you requested, give me the money, and they say no because they know if they delay that, they can get you to either give up or grind you into the ground.
So is there a single civil case that somebody is like demonstrating this, or like class action lawsuits?
Yeah, there's a bunch. And if you read the book by the guy who wrote the fucking manifesto, you'd know all of this, but you didn't. And I know you like to shit on people who don't do research before, but I know you didn't read that book, and it's really frustrating.
That's right. I haven't read every single book on this, but
I'm not saying you have to.
Just to be clear,
every single time I bring up a single fact, you're like, oh, do you have a source?
Hold on. We got to go one at a time. Sure. Screaming at each other won't work. Finish your point, Soy. Then Destiny gets to respond uninterrupted. Go ahead.
No, let him go.
If you've read a book, and the only thing you can say is you needed to read the book, then you didn't understand the book, and you shouldn't waste your time reading the book. There are much better things. That's the only thing you're saying. Let me finish.
If you're going to let Destiny go, you got to let Destiny go.
Yeah, so saying that I read the book, you need to read the book over and over again means that you shouldn't have wasted your time reading the book. Number one. Number two, if you did read the book and you did actually assimilate some reasonable information from it, it sure would be nice if you could bring up a single thing impacting health insurance, especially in a post-ACA world. And if you're just citing this McKinsey leak over and over and over and over again, which is consultations to non-health insurance related companies in a pre-ACA world, what the fuck is even the carryover to the health insurance?
So ignoring all the other cases I brought up, ignoring the Senate thing that came out 2 months ago, ignoring all of this, like I'll keep bringing up sources, I'll keep bringing up what I read in the book, I'll keep like trying to like scroll through my 14 pages of documents, but then you just keep denying. It's like, oh, well, I still don't think it's happening. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I can keep showing you these.
Why not, instead of just naming and blurting out a bunch of random shit that's not applicable, give me the strongest thing, and we can start there. That's what people normally do. Give the strongest thing.
What is the strongest thing that you need to see that would prove and change your mind?
Well, you're talking about like arbitrarily denying things for unjustifiable reason, unjustifiable cause.
So what is not being shown that is the case in the Senate report?
The Senate report, one, it's not even showing that. It's just showing that there's an increase of denials, and it's only talking about outpatient care related to Medicare Advantage patients. That's only one sector of what's even being talked about.
Okay, and
so
I'm not saying it.
Number two.
So wait, would it have to be widespread? Would it have to be everything?
No, it wouldn't necessarily have to be. You could show me in that industry. But number two, I don't think in that Senate report, but from what I just read, it doesn't even seem like they're alleging anything actually wrong happening where they found
criminal.
Wrong.
Yeah, that's the fucking point. It's not. They don't think it's criminal.
So if the issue is just that denials have gone up for some reason, okay, of which who knows?
For some reason, for the system.
For the system,
arbitrarily denying things on things that when
where in the Senate report,
by adjusters they say this
Hold
isn't
on, maybe I can help.
Wait. Where in that Senate report? Just show me. Then tell me which page. It was like 50 pages. Okay, I read about 25 of them, and then I skimmed the rest. Where in that report does it say they are arbitrarily or unfairly or unjustly or in violation of their agreements denying people insurance claims? Where's that?
Yeah, it's just at the very bottom. There's a role for the free market to improve the delivery of healthcare to America's seniors, but there is nothing inevitable about the harms done by the current arrangement. Insurers can and must do better. Yeah, thanks, Senate, for the sake of the American healthcare system and the patients the government entrusts to them.
Okay, I'm going to ask that a question again. What part of this report says that they are arbitrarily rejecting or denying claims?
What do you need to see? Do you need to see that it's not supposed to be the rate that it's at? Do you need to see what the word harm is?
No, not harm. What do you mean? Cars harm people by output. That doesn't mean that you're doing something
morally wrong. Okay, and denying people medical care harms them, and this is denying more people medical care. The Senate says this is wrong. They say they need to change, and they're not doing criminal charges.
No. It sounds like they didn't even find any wrong behavior. It just sounds
what is wrong behavior?
Something that's unethical or illegal or in violation.
They say it is unethical. They said right there, this is unethical.
Can harm result from legal behavior? What? Can harm result from legal behavior?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Are you saying that to Destiny?
No, the conclusion of the report that you're reading is like, yeah, look, we can do things to rectify
that's
the
just my whole
harm
argument. The status quo is that denying people claims that may end up killing them is not viewed as that bad in our current system. That's the reason you guys are making the arguments you're saying.
You're talking, you keep sneaking all this bullshit in, which leads me to think you know that you're full of shit right now. Nobody is saying
I promise you I'm not.
Every single denial is not necessarily bad or unjustified, but you keep sneaking in. Also, why do you keep saying ethical? There's no thing on that in that conclusion for that report about ethical. You're adding that word. They didn't say that they're acting unethically.
Okay, they say there are harms done by the current system. Maybe it's not unethical, but the point is...
Does that make that system unethical? If a system does harm, right, does that necessarily make the system unethical?
Well, it'd be more about the fact that I think what Destiny would want to say is that are the people who are implementing the system actively doing it, knowing that it is doing bad things and not caring? I would say they are, but I think that's what Destiny would want to say. Is that right?
Wait, just last point. Last point, because you keep bringing up this report, and then you can do this, okay? You keep bringing up this report. What did the report even suggest?
Do better.
Who?
The people that are implementing the system. So United Healthcare, CVS, and there's one other.
No, you're wrong. Although the subcommittee's recommendations in this report are targeted at regulators. The whole point is to change the law because this is a heavily regulated insurance industry. That's why I keep getting mad when you guys are coming with car insurance examples. The whole point is health insurance this is why you can't sue these companies, because it's so regulated. They don't want to be getting sued for things that they have to do in accordance with rules set by the federal government because of laws passed by Congress.
Why do they have to implement computer systems that deny people? That's not something
because they're trying to save money because healthcare is expensive. They have to because healthcare is expensive.
So if the only way they can operate is by doing this, in the same way that I would say that if you can only afford to have your company by paying people less than minimum wage, then you shouldn't exist, and the government should step in and do it.
Yeah, the government denies people too.
They do, but not at the same rates.
You don't even know the rates. You just said that it's not publicly available information. So why would you even say that?
Yeah, but I can at least compare in general to what they're doing in other countries. Sorry, wait.
I do want to make sure more people get in. Eucharist's been trying to get in. Buckaroo's been trying to get in, and Ash wants in. So we're gonna go in that order: Eucharist, Buckaroo, Ash. Go.
I just don't understand the standard by which you're measuring whether or not they are doing something worthy of giving the Luigi treatment to the CEO, right? So you are reading this. Let me finish. Hold on. You're reading a report that says, hey, we could probably do something to minimize the harm done, right? Fair enough, right? But it seems like what you're suggesting is they should minimize all harm, right? No. I'm perplexed, right? Because when I buy insurance from a company, I'm entering into a contract and paying them a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time that's going to cover a certain amount of services in the event of certain conditions, right? And they're suggesting, or they're arguing, that when they deny my claim for certain coverage, that there are good reasons for doing that. Now, I think we could probably all agree there are circumstances where an insurance company could deny coverage. It would result in harm, but they are doing that within the limits of the contract they've made with the customer. Is that true?
100%. That happens probably more often than an unjust one.
So the report that you're reading does not in any way tell me that they're doing something criminal that I could sue them under, that they could be prosecuted for.
Okay, they're not going to get prosecuted. Okay, I agree.
Wait, I'm sorry. They're not doing anything criminal?
Hold on.
I don't think they're breaking the law.
Two more things. Okay.
Two more things. Go ahead.
What you all were alleging earlier was a strong amount of fraud, actual fraud, like I could bring a lawsuit against you, or you could be prosecuted by the federal government for violating federal regulations governing healthcare insurance. Fraud. If you're saying they're not violating statutes, then I don't know what we're talking about anymore, and I don't know how you could possibly justify the thing that this debate is about.
Can something cause harm and be legal? Yes, right?
There's something called the Fort.
Sorry,
say that one more time.
Well, you brought up. You said, can something be legal and cause harm?
No. I said, could we be working within the insurance system? Could we look at the contract I made with my insurance company? Could they deny my coverage? Could that denial be valid under that contract and cause harm? And we all agree.
Well, that too. But could you also agree that there are things that people do that you would probably disagree with that are not breaking a law?
Yes.
That's what I'm arguing.
Okay. No. We're so not breaking a law that we're killing over.
Right. Not. I just don't even know where to go from here. I feel like we've run into so many dead ends that I just don't even know how you're justifying the thing we're arguing about, right? If you've gotten to the point where you're saying no law was broken, no, there's no action I could bring against this company to resolve the harm that they've done.
Well, then what? Yeah, exactly. There's no action.
This is a policy question.
Right, exactly. And when when does that policy happen? Does it happen a year from now? Does it happen 4 years? What do you tell the person right now that might die because of their denial of coverage if they can't do something to immediately change their situation? That's what I'm asking. That's my whole question, and that is what will convert me to your side.
From a rare kind of cancer, from some chemical dump outside their school, from decades ago. Right? What do I tell them? I tell them, hey, there's laws, and we're processing it, and we're going through the process.
Yeah, so essentially get fucked. So, like, you can't do anything.
You can't just go out and kill people because of it.
I don't think you should, but what else do you tell them?
But that's the whole debate. That's the point.
Okay,
a part of what I do think is
Buckrow, go ahead.
Part of what I do think is worth criticism is the way the policies are developed in the first place. And I agree, Eucharist. I can hear you saying now that you just want more transparency from insurance agencies, and I absolutely agree. I think insurance agencies should be more transparent. So there's something called the Four Corners rule that's utilized by insurance lawyers specifically, and the idea is that the scope of the coverage is actually completely covered by what's written within the four corners of the paper on which the policy is printed. Now, there have been multiple occasions where different courts have actually castigated these insurance companies specifically because they will use bad faith when interpreting different policies, and yes, I know bad faith is something specific, but they will use bad faith when interpreting these policies, and they will go out of their way to create their own internal definitions of what is and isn't, for example, burglary. So in this specific case, the Iowa Supreme Court this did go to court. They rejected a policy because the definition of burglary within the insurance policy was requiring visible marks of forceful entry on the exterior. And they used that as reinforcement for claim denial because the burglary, of course, couldn't have been an actual burglary if there weren't visible marks on the exterior explicitly. And this is one of the circumstances in which, while I agree this is written in the policy, I think there are issues when it comes to the faith with which the policies are enacted on the claimants. And I think that goes to the exact papers.
I don't think this has anything to do with health insurance. I think this is I don't think that they're going to be using like novel definitions in an insurance policy that isn't understood literally throughout the entire industry.
I staunchly disagree. I think this happens all the time.
Can you give us
exactly why there's a bureaucratic process?
What's a single example?
Can I finish?
Stop. In a moment. But this goes to the point, right? Like we keep talking in vagaries. What is a specific example in the health industry where they define an insurance company defines something in a way?
Here we go. Actually, you know what? Destiny actually referred to this earlier that I thought was really that's pretty useful now when we're talking about what is and isn't an elective surgery. You know, he's talking about the elective surgery of having your arm bone fixed, but I think the person walking around with a broken arm probably feels differently about whether or not it's elective because there's a specific definition that's being utilized by the insurance company that may or may not be understood by the person when they are signing on to the policy in the first place. Now, I think the average person, when they're choosing their specific plan, which again, to be clear, most people cannot choose the insurance agency through which they get insurance. They actually only choose the job that they have. And then those jobs have specific insurance companies from whom they buy insurance packages. And that is what is utilized for their employees. So the option of change your insurance is actually quit your job. Then you can get new insurance. Then you can actually have an issue with the policy that's being offered to you. And even then you're given like 4 or 5 policy plans in the first place. But back to my original point, I think there is something important regarding the specific terminology that's utilized by insurance agencies to deny claims that otherwise from a good faith or what I would say is a good faith interpretation, what the Utah Supreme Court would say is a good
this is not happening. This is not happening. This is just an imagined scenario.
Do you have any evidence? Do you have any
that I can prove that something's not happening? No, I can't prove a negative. I cannot prove that a thing is not happening. But the idea that because somebody doesn't know what an elective surgery means that they're getting scammed, like I'm sorry, if you don't know, like what? Like let's say I don't speak English.
This is exactly why I wanted to finish my point, which is that it's not just about whether somebody knows what an elective surgery is. It's about the fact that, like I said, insurance companies use explicit definitions that are not known by their claimants to basically lure them into the trap of signing on to a specific policy without understanding.
This doesn't even make sense because you literally said in your...
But if I can finish... if I can read this other quote from the Utah Supreme Court, insureds buy financial protection and peace of mind against gratuitous losses. They pay the requisite premiums and put their faith and trust in their insurers to pay policy benefits properly and fairly when the insured event occurs. Good faith and fair dealing is their expectation. It is the very essence of the insurer and insured relationship. So I think it is actually very important to understand and to ensure that the claimants who are signing up for these policies in the first place have a clear understanding of the policy at hand.
Why would they even have to obfuscate? Wait. Why would they have to?
And I think the training...
You got 30 seconds, right? We can't be held hostage.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's okay.
Okay.
Why would they have to obfuscate their terms? If you just said earlier, people can't even choose their insurance anyway. If they're all getting that from their job, then why would they even have to go through the trouble of trying to obfuscate what people are signing up for? Like, these are just fantasies. Like, nothing that you're quoting even has to do with health insurance. All of these cases, the Utah one, the Iowa one, are all like about car insurance and stuff. It's a totally different industry.
Okay, wait,
again, to be clear, this is an insurance company that has different kinds of insurance that they offer. They can still bounce from car insurance to health insurance, because when you have any health claims related to any other form of insurance that you have, it goes to that first form of insurance, and then it goes to health insurance. So this is all intertwined. You want this explicit discrimination between these two, but you're wrong. It is not as clear as you imply.
It is very clear. Your car insurance is not your health insurance company. You wouldn't go to your car insurance and say, I got in a car accident. Can you front me some money for my monthly SSRI prescription? Or can you give me something like a car insurance, like forwarding something to health insurance? A different thing. Go ahead.
When it comes to the injuries that occur as a result of a car accident, you do go to the car insurance agency. You say, I was hurt from this car accident. I have to pay for these bills because this claimant has caused harm in some way. It goes to the car insurance agency first.
Yeah, as a result of an accident,
it goes to the health insurance agency.
But I'm saying that this is a different thing than your ordinary health insurance.
What I'm talking about. This is a part of health insurance. You think it's not a part of health insurance because you don't understand what car and health insurance are. It is not my fault that you don't get what car insurance is and how claims for car insurance injuries go through car insurance first.
If this conversation was supposed to be a debate about how we regulate car and health insurance policies, this would be a completely different conversation, right? If we just wanted to say, hey, in an ideal world, what regulations would be passed for separate issues, health and car insurance, to make them better, that it would be a different conversation. That's part of why I'm agreeing with you on the data transparency issue, right? Where I want to know why and how these insurance companies are making these denials, right? The question that we came in here to debate is when and how these denials justify gunning someone down on the street.
Well, and it's important. You have to know. You have to know if they're justified or not, because that's at the end of the day, that's really the only thing that matters. And nobody knows about anything, how insurance works or whatever, which is why she thinks that the health insurance,
which is why you don't seem to understand.
With all due respect, you've never done a car insurance claim in your entire life. Car insurance companies aren't even ACA regulated. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're clueless. You're clueless. Do you think car insurance companies are regulated under the ACA the same way the health insurance companies are? No. Do you get a Medicare extension or a Medicare Plus plan from your Allstate or Geico?
Why you are explaining my argument to me about why I see an issue with claimants and their relationship with the insurer in the first place? Because it goes to car insurance agencies first?
Destiny, go ahead.
That are owned by the same company?
Hold on. When I say Destiny, go ahead, I mean Destiny, go ahead. And then when I see you, Soy Phil. We're going to get you in right after, but Destiny has to have a chance uninterrupted to respond. Destiny, go ahead.
Just the fact that a car insurance company might cover some medical expense, when we talk about health insurance companies, we're not talking about car insurance companies. We're talking about health insurance companies where that is the product that they offer, and they're hardcore regulated by the Affordable Care Act. And there's a whole list of regulations and everything that come into play here when we're talking about these companies. And every single data point that you guys were citing earlier, things related to that Senate report and things related to the 90% denials and all these have to do with like Medicare Plus plans or Medicare extension plans or whatever. These don't, which is
insurance plans from insurance agencies,
that's health insurance. Medicare,
which is not the plan you're getting from Allstate. That's not when you get a car accident. You don't get a car accident. That's not for car accidents. 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 That's not for car accidents.
I'm not talking about car accidents when I'm citing the Medicare Advantage.
You already said, Destiny, you can go to your car insurer and tell them you have medical bills related to a car accident. That is how, like I have said, you are clearly displaying a lack of understanding with the relationship between health insurance agencies and car insurance agencies. And when you have a car accident that results in the necessity of medical bills being paid, that is going to a car insurance agency first. Now, Soybill.
Oh, thanks. First, I want to say Destiny is drinking Soylent right now. That makes him objectively the most correct in this conversation. Destiny, I'm looking at this report. I did not quote every single thing. I didn't know you would fight me so hard on this. Is this enough for you? It says, this majority staff report reveals how Medicare Advantage insurers are intentionally using prior authorization to boost profits by targeting costly yet critical stays in post-acute care facilities. So, Allah intentionally using these systems to deny care from people who may or may not rightfully deserve it. I'm sure some of these denials, maybe even the majority of these denials,
I'm sorry, read that quote again. I was
sure, and this is under the executive summary. And by the way, sorry for all the yelling, because like I can see how this is my first time doing this, and I can see how
I'm having fun.
I'm having fun, but I mean, I want to. I'm seriously trying to approach this in good faith. And so, in the executive summary, it says this majority staff report reveals how Medicare Advantage insurers, aka United Health, CVS, and one other I don't remember, are intentionally using prior authorization to boost profits by targeting costly yet critical stays in post-acute care facilities.
Yes, costly.
Okay.
The issue is that these particular stays are incredibly expensive. So you have two options. You have one option. The only way you have two options. The only way that you can do this, or maybe three, you can either increase premiums to customers, you can decrease the cost of what the people pay out by negotiating with them, which people in America get ass paid at, or you can be more stringent on what you cover. Those are the only three things that you can do.
Yeah, it is a zero-sum game. You're going to have to take money from somewhere else to pay for this care. And what this is saying, I'm trying to establish that they are intentionally denying care, which may or may not result in harm, if not death, to certain people for profit. And whether or not that's because, and you can make this argument, because the government is enforcing these stringent regulations that's forcing them, they say we cannot be operable if we do not do this, that's totally fair. I understand that. I'm just saying that the decisions being made by the higher up people are denying people care that may or may not kill them. That's it.
I don't agree with the death part. Okay, where people are dying because of this, because I don't think that is the case. Okay,
you don't. Okay, so if you need, go ahead.
This has to do with staying in care facilities after surgeries and stuff, right?
Yeah, but so if you have a wound,
there are alternatives to this. Right? You don't have to go to a facility afterwards. You can get like in-home treatments instead, or you can visit a hospital, right? Sure, you can do other things, right? But what this report is saying is that if the person's not being allowed to stay in a post-acute care facility and they get instead opt for that other thing, or they do that other thing, that's counted as like a denial or whatever for this report. Also, this report is only dealing with the time period between 2019 and 2022, which is an incredibly odd period for healthcare coverage, like time periods, which is why even in looking at the conclusion of this report, all of their conclusions go towards the regulations that maybe we should try to regulate this industry in a little bit of a different way.
Right.
You're saying that people could be dying as a result of this. These are for Medicare Advantage plans. These are things that are on top of your ordinary Medicare already. So if you're advocating for getting rid of stuff like this and just expanding Medicare for all or something like that, these people would literally all be doing worse under that plan because they all already qualify for Medicare anyway. These are just Medicare Advantage plans. So nothing in this report is getting you anywhere near the fact that somebody was engaging in such harmful behavior should be killed.
Is there a more than positive chance that someone who is denied post-acute care for, let's say, a wound, where they could get sepsis, that could get infected because they can't afford it, and they can't afford the alternative, would not die? Is that possible?
No. People are not being, no. These types of denials are not like you have sepsis and you're being denied like long-term care. These are like you have an injury that you get, it's maybe some surgery in the hospital, and then you've got to do some like physical rehab or physical therapy, and maybe the doctor...
Some of post-acute care is wounds, like from surgeries, that if you don't treat correctly... No, wounds. Wounds could become septic post not treating them, right?
Yes, it could, I guess. If you,
so I'm just saying, is it possible that there's even one person who's denied that post-acute care, that their wound is not treated correctly and they die?
That's possible, sure. But it's also possible in the other world that too many people get approved for this, and now there's no room for somebody who actually does need to stay in one of those facilities.
No, you're right. Wait, Destiny's right. Destiny's right. The reason they're doing this is they're quoting.
Let them finish. Then I get to super chats, and then we'll continue on. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's related only to this.
No. Go ahead, finish.
I want to say Destiny's right. The reason that they're justifying implementing the systems is an over-approval of care for people that don't deserve it. Like, yeah, 100%.
No, don't not deserve it. There might be a substitution instead. Like, you could go home and have the same type of care. Sure.
Sorry. Maybe the word is too loaded, but that don't need this care, right? Like, they're approving people. The system was approving people, and it's like over-approving people. It's losing the company money, and these people didn't need it. I understand that. Yeah, I'm just saying there's a fraction of people. There must be a fraction of people who are denied this care, especially when it goes to as much as 16 times higher than their normal denial rate, who probably need it and may or may not die from it. That's
not as policy, though. That would be an accident or an oversight or something fucked up.
Sure, but like if they don't get the proper treatment because they either can't afford it because the alternative's not there for them. That's all I'm saying.
But you're not dying of sepsis. Sorry, go ahead, Big Papa.
Okay.
I'm just gonna get some. We're gonna get some super chats in there. Then we go to Buckaroo, and then we'll keep going. Deity for $20. Destiny took the L, defending the big businesses and CEOs after the death penalty, and the death penalty nowadays too. Brian Thompson got the death penalty from the American people after enacting the October 7th of healthcare on us, and that's facts. Well, thank you for the $20. $5 from Robert Bates to say ERISA law prevents suing for more than the claim. ERISA prevents putative, emotional, or jury trials. There are no consequences for incorrect denials. $5 from Rabid Wombat. Does Soy think it would have been more ethical for Luigi to grape the CEO instead of murder because it leaves room for a post-grape CEO redemption arc?
Can I answer that?
In a moment. Let me get through the rest of these. But yes, keep that in mind. It's an interesting question. Symposium Brain for $20 says Melina recently confirmed that the sex tapes leaked by Destiny.
Jesus Christ.
E-girl were shared by Destiny
without her consent. Good one. Nice. Yes.
If she has no legal recourse.
I've got a whole bunch of super chats for you, Wick. Ready?
Okay. Did you not? Okay, fair enough.
Wick is a stinky butt. I think that's a #1 super chat. He's probably going to mention. Sorry.
$5 from Origuni. How would the people on the panel like to be treated if accused of murder? Do you want a trial, or would you prefer Luigi? $5 Smoke D Bandit. The argument that you're stuck with a company because of your job is incorrect. This is America, and you can choose any company. $5 from Very Late and Tired. The one screaming about car insurance is incredibly wrong. She shouldn't be accusing others of ignorance. It's embarrassing. And then finally, $5. Wick, just tuning in, but wondering if Buckaroo has improved on her arguments on this topic since I debated her on the last healthcare panel. Thank you for the money. Okay, with that, Buckaroo.
I'm not wrong. There's actually a specific branch of insurance that's used for this purpose. It's called third-party liability, and if the car insurance company denies the claim, it doesn't go to medical. The only way it goes to medical is if it goes to car insurance first and is approved by car insurance, which is, again, why I will reiterate, there is a complex relationship between all of these kinds of insurance, and the discrimination that you're trying to make Destiny, especially between health insurance and car insurance, is just a fallacy.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Made in your own mind. Third-party liability.
What do you think third-party liability means?
It's a specific term used, again, with the insurance having its own definitions. It's actually a specific branch of insurance companies that's used to interact between the car insurance and medical insurance. It is used because, first and foremost, they are different kinds of insurance, but if the car insurance denies the claim, it does not go to medical. It has to be approved by the car insurance company to go to medical in the first place.
So, one, I'm not even sure if that's true, and two, the very easy counter to that.
Okay, look it up.
The very easy counter to that. You understand that you're not required to carry like medical insurance for your own accidents, right? So if I get into a car accident and I don't have car insurance.
Are you making an assumption about my claim?
No,
if you're making an assumption, you can ask me my opinion. I don't understand why you're making an assertion about my claim right now when you can just ask clearly.
Liability, my guess is going to be in and I know this is probably
I don't want to guess.
Well,
okay, if you won't even believe my statement that I know is correct, I don't want to hear your
You've been wrong about almost every single thing you said. Third-party liability probably has to do with the fact that if you can't make a double.
Probably, based on your assumption.
Link me exactly what you're reading and I will educate you on how absolutely fucking stupid and clueless you are about this particular
educate me
I
because
absolutely
you're
will.
wrong.
I can't educate you because you don't know anything about what you're talking about. Go ahead, link me. What do you link me exactly what you're reading? Go. Link me. Go ahead. Link me.
Obviously more educated
link
on
me.
this.
Link me. Link me. Go ahead. Link me.
Well, you guys are
Before I read what I'm saying, wait. Before I read what you're saying, my guess is third-party liability tries to avoid two things. One is if you get into an accident where you're clearly like at fault or you've done something bad, or the car insurance company has checked it out and you're not liable at all for a particular thing, and they say there's no injury here. You can't go to a health insurance afterwards and try to get a claim that somebody else already validated. Is like, this is absolute bullshit. Number one. Or number two, it's something you can't do double claims. I can't go to my car insurance and say, hey, I got an injury. Can you give me money for it? Oh, and go to your personal insurance and say, hey, can you give me money for this injury? So you don't do a double claim. That's my guess for what third-party liability has to do. Usually you go down a line of liability so you're not double claiming. This is the same thing with credit cards and other types of liability insurance as well. Link me what you're reading. Link me what you're reading. Link me what you're reading.
Third-party liability insurance.
While you guys
wait, Buckaroo. Look, can I? Because you guys are talking past each other. Can I just say?
You guys are just not listening to me.
We're not talking past each other.
You
we just disagree because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
We are going to mute for a moment so I can fucking do this thing, okay? We're going to give it to Soy. It's Soy's turn. You can link Destiny, the appropriate thing, and you guys can have that little back and forth later. But I want to hear Soy's opinion, and he was asked a very interesting question.
Okay, I'll get to the super chat, but I want to say, like, about you guys, yeah, I'll get to that. But the thing that you guys are arguing, like, Destiny, you were talking about how the examples we brought up were from auto insurance. It's not applicable to health insurance. I agree. Like, it's not one-to-one. What Buckaroo is trying to say is that sometimes the health of people is determined by these companies that do auto insurance. I think that's all she's trying to establish, and that sometimes these bad practices, these examples that we brought up that you said weren't applicable, could be applicable to someone's health. That's it, right? Am I correct?
I do think, yes, but I do think he understands that. I think he just blatantly misunderstands the concept of third.
Don't throw more bad faith in it. Just let him talk. Just let don't assume what he's saying.
I don't know why this is not the rule. We're just talking about such a niche thing. It's like talking about. It's like saying we're having
what third-party liability is in the first place.
It's like
he literally made a whole assumption about it. He's arguing based on that blatant assumption.
This is why
you're talking about.
You're talking about medical policies.
You're talking about
minimum liability coverage, and that's it.
Oh, stop! Soy, you were asked a question. You should have just answered my goddamn question.
Okay. I don't believe in doing direct harm to the CEO because I believe there's, like probably everyone on the opposite side of this debate, that there are lots of things that we can do to make this better. I believe in making the numbers more transparent. I believe we can vote for people that will get single-payer systems. I believe we can put more regulations on hospital costs. So no, I don't think you should go grape the CEO. But the whole point of this argument, and the thing we'll never get to because we keep arguing about whether or not the insurance is even doing this, is once we know that assuming that the insurance is doing this, and Professor Bunn has tried to address this several times, then is it justifiable for someone who is suffering under that system to do something about it? And I don't know if we'll ever get that. But,
we won't because most people are going to be very narrow in their agreements there. They're going to be slightly opposed or slightly in favor of. I'm sure that even for Eucharist, as principal as he might say he is, as a fucking conservative professor, mustache having motherfucker, I'm sure I could find scenarios where you would argue that it's understandable or maybe even justified to take action against some system that is like horrendously failing you. That if I can show you that police officers are intentionally ignoring 911 calls where you're being murdered or whatever, that there are probably times when vigilantism is not only understood, but maybe even like morally acceptable as a way to further some goal with a system that's clearly broken. But most of our moral arguments are going to take place within the framework of a system that we believe is functioning to some extent. So that's why we have to make the argument for whether the system is functioning or not. Vigilantism is a great thing in tribal societies where there's no court. Vigilantism is a horrible thing in societies where you do have court. Also, you can link in the general chat of the block, general for Big Papa
Buckaroo.
I also put it.
Well, but that's what's so interesting, Destiny, is because it seems like if I were able to show you that this was happening, and clearly I haven't, and that's fine, I accept that. Then would you find it potentially justifiable in the same way that you said, yeah, with the 911 calls, with any of these other things, if for the people specifically who are not able to do and wait around for the regulation to catch up, who are specifically hoping that someone goes out, makes this big message, and causes something to happen in the immediate, like, well, what do you say to those people? Because that's the whole thing I said at the beginning. I will concede if you can show me there's a better alternative for the people who do not have the time to wait for that sort of regulation to come in and change the laws for a new system to become, especially considering Donald Trump's about to come in, probably cut Medicare, get rid of regulations, maybe even abolish like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which helps people who deal with these claims. Like, it does happen. So what do we tell those people? Like, because if you have a better option,
if all these problems are happening and you have to do vigilantism and that's literally the only thing, then of course, definitionally, you're saying by last recourse, then sure, then that's the last recourse. I'm just saying that I don't think these problems are happening like this in the USA, which is why
at all, ever, to one person, 10 people, like any number,
I'm
right?
sure that I can find one example of anything happening anywhere. in the United
so what do you call
States.
that person? What does that person do for recourse?
If you want to go vigilantism, then if it's at the point where you're being like personally vindictively targeted by some insurance exec or a doctor, then fucking go for it. Fucking A, knock yourself out. But that's not what we're arguing here, and I don't like to even concede that because that's a bad faith argument. Because you're arguing, or maybe not you, no, you were, because you were the one that raised your hand. Is that the random assassination of a terrorist on the street by a healthcare CEO is somehow justified because of the state at large of our healthcare industry in the United States? That is a far cry from I live in Minnezuki, Missouri, and there's a healthcare agent that I fucked their mom when we were in high school, and now he's pushing the denial button on my chemotherapy over and over and over again because he fucking hates me. These are two totally different types of claims, and the latter will never lead to justifying the former, in my opinion.
Okay, wonderful. We've got there. So, did you get the link that Buckaroo was trying to send, Destiny?
What do you think this link is proving
they are
me?
in Gen Chat.
What do you think that this is?
The concept of third-party liability and exactly what third-party liability is for.
Be specific. What do you think that this has to do with any of the arguments we made earlier about the ACA or anything else?
It had to do with my arguments about what third-party liability is.
Buckaroo. Was my characterization of your argument with Destiny even remotely in the realm, or am I just completely off base?
Yes. I said yes. I think this is exactly how different companies,
so regardless of that at all, like, don't even look at that link. Destiny, the claim is you saying that the examples we brought of auto insurance were not applicable because they're not health insurance. That's true. We're saying that there are cases where people are denied proper health care by the auto insurance that has been proven from leaked documents to carry out these practices. So does that change anything?
No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the state of like healthcare coverage in the United States. And a lot of what it's centered around has to do with court cases or Senate committee reports about like Medicare plans or managed chronic care, not things related to automobile accidents.
Well, the McKinsey documents showed that they were purposely denying
people don't get hit by cars?
No, hold on.
Do you think that the majority of old people's healthcare coverages have to do with auto accidents?
No, but I think when you make a definitive claim that automobile accidents don't have any influence on whether
is that what I said? They don't have any influence? I'm saying that the vast majority of what we're talking about is not related to automobile accidents and claims that you make for an injury in an automobile accident.
Can you show evidence for that claim? Any evidence for that claim that the majority of them are not?
Weird.
Why are we okaying? He can provide evidence. If I'm supposed to provide evidence, if Soy's supposed to provide evidence,
allow
he
him
can provide evidence
to do that if he wishes. But
sure. So you're asking me what are the majority medical costs for elderly people? Is that what you're asking me?
Majority of the claims for insurance agencies.
Stop talking about this. It's so irrelevant.
Hypertension was the most widely reported condition associated with it. Are they getting hypertension from car accidents? You think is high blood pressure?
And specifically, what kind of insurance they're going through initially.
I have an actual interesting kind of way. We are running out of time. I want to.
No, wait. There's more. Wait. You think? Hold on. Wait. I just want to get this. I just want to get this into the record. Hold on, Buckaroo. You think that the majority of old people's medical claims are passing through their automobile insurance insurance first?
No. I don't.
What was the point of the statement that you just made?
To get literally any sort of refutable evidence for any claims that you've made during the whole debate.
Wait, or we can just move on to something completely different. Destiny, do you acknowledge that the McKinsey documents for the automobile insurance intentionally said, let us deny as many missed claims as possible? That's the minor impact soft tissue claims, just because we know that the people who are going through the litigation will not be willing to pay the money for a lawyer because the cost of the claim will be less.
Honestly,
is that a thing
at this
that happened?
Point, I don't even trust it without reading it myself. If you want to link me the actual document, I can read it.
Sure,
but they might have said it would have surprised me if a consultation company, some insurance company, did say some scumbag fuck shit. That wouldn't surprise me. So I would grant that. Sure, I'm sure that could happen. Yes.
Okay, and is that tantamount to killing people if they're saying let's us deny these people claims, or not even killing? Let's not go that far. This is causing potentially permanent damage to these people if they do not get the recourse they need within the 3 months period after having that whiplash. This is also known as whiplash. I'll stop saying missed. If they don't get the treatment for that, they will have permanent whiplash injuries from that. Is that a scumfuck thing? Yes. And should that be illegal? And if someone is having
non-life-threatening injuries, just things that make you uncomfortable?
Well, sure, but have you ever had back pain that's chronic? It's literally I can't think anymore. That's probably why this guy went out and killed this guy.
First of all, you have absolutely no evidence to support that whatsoever. Number one.
No, it's complete speculation. You're right. I've deadlifted wrong before and it hurts like a motherfucker and I've wanted to kill people. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, but that's nothing to do with him supposedly having chronic pain. Okay, number one. Number
I'm
two,
saying that would radicalize someone. That would cause someone to do and feel immense suffering their whole life.
Didn't we say that this guy wrote a fucking manifesto and he just didn't include his negative experience with healthcare and surgery in the U.S. when he murders a healthcare exec? Wouldn't we expect to see that somewhere?
I'd have to go read it again.
Okay,
maybe.
Number one, that point was so bizarre. Fuck me. I forgot what I was going to say.
It wasn't like a serious, like this is trying to change your mind.
I do have a question for your side of things, Soy, and I'll give it to you first. I want to hear everyone else's. Because you specifically, Soy, have brought this up several times. That what do you tell people? What do you tell someone who is suffering?
That's like the whole argument I'm trying to grant, right? Yeah.
Right. What do you say? What do you say to those people who have? Do you tell them to just wait until things get better? Like, what do you say to them? Well, the question becomes, if we could show, right, and I think that we can, that them going out and gunning down a CEO or graping a CEO or engaging in vigilante action would make it harder for every other person to get the effective change that others are fighting for in a legal manner. Do you still just kind of sit back?
Of course not. If it's actually making everything worse, which it absolutely might do, I'm about 100% concede that. Yeah. If it does, if it has them cracked down, they don't change anything.
Didn't just not help people, right?
It made things worse. Yeah, sure. And if we see that bear out in the next 2 years, not only will I say that it's like, I'm already not condoning it, but I would also say, no, you're like I said at the beginning of this, I will concede this is not just, you're misinformed. You are causing active harm to society. It shouldn't be done.
Justified. You did raise your hand to say, is this justified?
I think that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a
the reason why we don't do vigilante, and I'll let you answer after I'm done, please. Right? The reason we don't condone vigilantism, the reason we don't think this is okay, the reason why we don't go down this route is because it makes things harder to do it in the correct way. It makes it less likely that actual change will happen that won't lead to mass amounts of blood in the streets. If extrajudicial killings are successful and it does lead to change, then that puts a lot of people on the menu and they can say, look,
that's how we used to run society.
Let's do it a lot more. And I think that leads to more deaths than the insurance companies are.
Right, and I don't advocate for that. That is how we used to run societies before we had democracies. That was the compromise, saying like, hey, we'll stop going killing our kings, we'll stop killing our union boss, we'll stop killing our boss who's screwing us over. I don't think we should go back to that. I don't think that would be good, and I don't think that this is the way that we need to have it happen. But I am saying that there are justifiable ways that this could bear out in these people who are suffering and have no recourse. The whole point of my argument is that what are these people else supposed to do? Like, what could they possibly? I almost put on my video, what if they?
But not that.
Sure. And I was like, what if they, like Destiny brought up the self-immolation and how that like got not talked about a month later. And it could be the exact same case here where it hasn't even been a month yet. We're not going to be talking about this guy 3 months from now.
But you're talking about killing people for lack of like positive resources. Like, bro, are we like, we're going to be killing store owners for not giving us food. We can kill a realtor for not giving us a house. If we're homeless, we could kill,
again, I'm not justifying it. I'm saying, what do you tell the people that are suffering?
Tough shit. I mean, like there's some degree of suffering. You're saying that any amount of suffering is, you're saying that any amount of suffering.
No, I mean the people that are going through chronic pain and death, like from denial, which you don't think is happening, but just assume it is, just for that specific point.
If you assume away the hard part, then I guess, you like literally, I guess almost everything's on the table. If you're going to die, sure. But.
Okay. But I guess, but if it's not happening, then it doesn't matter. But yeah, okay. That's kind of my point. I'm like, what else are you supposed to tell them? That's like, hey, I'm going to die in a month because I'm being denied care. What the fuck am I supposed to do? This guy's getting away with literally murdering me. Like, what do you tell that person?
Yeah, but that's this type of care, like death is that's not even legal to deny. Even the hospital can't deny if that's like a thing that you're facing. If you're like going to die in a month, like even the hospital has to treat you at that point.
Well, I guess that's also supplanting the idea. That's probably not the right word, but like a lot of people, like we said, like might be afraid to even go to the doctor because of fear of going bankrupt. A lot of people we don't even know that they're denied care. They just get the, like, hey, we rejected your claim. And then they don't pursue anything further because they don't know that they're owed more. And then they don't go further from that because they don't want to pay out more. Like but again, that's not, I don't have data to back that up. The data doesn't exist. So I don't
So all of these are information problems that are exacerbated by propaganda that suggests that if you go through these things, you're going to go bankrupt, right? So what we could do to solve those is to solve the information problem by more widely distributing accurate facts about the healthcare system rather than propagandizing people about the healthcare system. How
responsible are the people spreading that misinformation? So they're making it an exasperating, you know the word I'm talking about, right? They're blowing up and blowing out of proportion this idea that it's so hard to get an ambulance, or it's going to cost you, it's going to make you go bankrupt. And so because of all this misinformation out there, people choose not to engage in these services. It leads to worse health conditions that eventually affects their quality of life and they die. Are the people spreading that misinformation on the list?
Characterizing it as misinformation is incorrect, because it's an accumulation of different anecdotes that people are experiencing, and that goes to the corrosion of social trust that we actually penalize financially, as described earlier. They are further removed. They're less proximate to the evil and the corrosive nature of their misinformation than the people who are causing it to begin with, by not publishing their numbers, not making them accessible, publishing them in a way that makes them a little bit more difficult to read, we could say, or making them unclear. What is a closed case versus an appealed case versus a denied case versus settled case? Like, if we don't have consistent standards for these, we should be looking at the health insurance companies instead.
Okay. Gang.
But I got to jump in because I've been, waiter, my hand is getting cold.
I know, we'll get to you and we'll give you a word here, but I'm just saying we're going to go to Ash and then we are going to go to closing statements. I want to respect everyone's time. If you guys want to call in and stay after, by all means, right? But I do want to allow an escape to those who wish to do so. So Ash, you've had your hand up. Give us your point.
Yeah, I just want to go over, I'm excited about the upcoming destruction of the Affordable Care Act. I think it's been horrific to the American healthcare industry by incentivizing healthcare companies to stop driving down costs, which they used to devote a fair amount of their time to, was driving down costs. But if they drive down the cost of a claim by negotiating with a healthcare provider, then that decreases, that eats up administrative costs, but also means that their ratio gets thrown off in a different direction, so that now their payouts look lower, and they've just eaten up a bunch of administrative costs. So now they have to make up for that in other ways that might not be appropriate. So their incentives right now are to offer settlements, are to delay, deny, and defend up until the end of the year. And then if they are a little bit over, they can offer some rebates. That's all I'm saying is, like, hey, these people have the means, they have the motive, and they have the opportunity. I don't necessarily know if they're actually doing it, but I have a lot of claims that they're actually doing it. And I see a healthcare industry that's protected from exposing themselves to any potential wrongdoing, which is why, as I said at the beginning, it's leverage. Hey, if you guys are doing wrong, then the first person to defect is, I think, going to have some kind of protection. If you guys are not doing wrong, then you have even more incentive to publish your numbers in a transparent, accurate, and clear way so that people understand exactly how their claims are getting denied, because they're different all over the place. Kaiser has a stupidly low appealed claims rate. I think it's like 0.2% or something like that. But Kaiser itself has like a very vertically integrated health insurance claim. You're mostly interacting within your own network, and it seems like a very solid system from the inside. So I have no reason to suspect Kaiser of wrongdoing, just looking from the outside in at that one statistic,
Yeah, but this has to do with, like, what is your engagement with the healthcare system? Like, the fact that you just said that it seems great because of that. Have you ever known somebody who needs to pursue either a specialist or go to a doctor that can prescribe something or recommend you something who's out of network? Because some companies, like with Kaiser, that could be a fucking nightmare. So even though they have a low denial rate, that's not necessarily a good thing. It could be a bad thing. Just none of these things are in a vacuum.
That's why I made the point that we needed to be as transparent as possible.
Sure, and if you want to demand, like, maximal transparency.
To answer your question that you asked me just a moment ago, my father died of melanoma, skin cancer. My mother has had the mini Whipple surgery. She had basically a benign tumor that was, a precancerous tumor on her pancreas that had also spread to, I believe, her gallbladder was removed, or a piece of her gallbladder. I don't remember the exact distinction between the Whipple surgery and the mini Whipple. That led to some medical malpractice where a mesh was left inside of her body and went undetected for several years afterwards and caused her quite a few problems. She actually went into sepsis several different times. I'm currently waiting on a specialist for a GI problem because my grandfather died of colon cancer. My mother had cancer. My father died of cancer. So I'm waiting on that specialist now. I interact with it. I'm a young person, and these kinds of problems engender fear that I tried to discourage in my friends But again, it's socially corrosive. So we want to solve that problem as quickly as possible. And if we encourage people who are doing wrong to say, hey, defect ASAP and we will bring you into the fold of our protection, then that's great. If they're not doing any wrong, then they should admit it.
How liable do you hold like hospitals or healthcare providers versus insurance companies?
Very, very. This is where I just differ from the rest of the panel. Do you remember the anesthesia? I wish we had gotten to this.
I know
earlier,
the anesthesia thing. Yes.
Anesthesia
yeah,
thing?
I'm aware of the craziness of all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was okay. It was completely justified on the part of the insurance companies to start going after these anesthesia providers because they're manufactured in these 500 milligram vials, I believe, which is something like 10 doses, perhaps, conservative estimate. But you have to throw away the entire dose, I believe, partially because of hospital policy, but also because of
Yeah, there's a lot of I guess there's a lot of dumb shit with that. I guess one of the things when we talk about like increased transparency, sometimes governments will provide a little bit more protection towards companies that are complying in heavily regulated environments. It's why I believe I don't think it was just the vaccines. I think that for FDA regulated drugs, assuming you follow the regulatory process and everything well, if something pops up and you like were following the process the whole time, it's very hard to hold these companies liable because they're following such a regulated process. And the argument would be, well, if something happens that's bad, then the government should regulate it differently. If we're arguing that we need way more transparency so that the coverage rates go up massively or something like that, then one of two things will happen. One, either the cost for these premiums is going to skyrocket because there's way more cost in the system now for people covering everything. Or two, healthcare providers are just going to say, fuck it, I just don't take these types of like Medicare plans because the government pay rates for these things are fucking dog shit. And a lot of these people only accept people like Medicare or Medicaid patients because they have people with a private insurance where the insurance companies compensate the healthcare providers way more. Which again, to be clear, I'm not arguing one way or another in favor of insurance or not in favor of insurance or whatever. I'm just saying that I feel like Americans have this bad thought sometimes that everything is fucked and that we just do one thing, we can fix everything. But you have to understand that the implementation of things you're asking for are going to cause necessarily some decrease somewhere in the system, whether it's by speed or choice or access to certain types of like drugs or procedures, that like something has to give somewhere. We can't just have everything at less cost. And
I'll give you an example right now. One of the regulations that goes into not reusing a vial, such that if you use one dose of ketamine, we have to throw out the other 9, is an OSHA regulation because basically saying that like, hey, we can't reuse these saline bags, we can't reuse anything that we inject intravenously, I believe, anything that we inject even with a hypodermic needle. There's a possibility that some bacteria could get on it and go to somebody else. So we have to throw it out. I would be happy with an America where you could opt in to slightly that extra 1% risk to cut your healthcare costs by 90% or whatever it would happen to be, right? That would be a beautiful America to live in. We can't live in that America because the government says no.
Okay.
And the government says no to a lot of different places, but yes, it would require systemic change. I think we have a little bit more leverage on the conversation now because people who lobby regularly to make it worse are now afraid for their lives, even when they're doing okay.
Here's the order of operations, gang. It's been a robust discussion, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, but some productivity in there, and I appreciate that. I'm going to give each of these lovely individuals, and thank you all for coming, closing thoughts, closing statements, tell people where they can find you. I have links to all of their stuff in my YouTube description. They have provided me links. I have pasted them for there, so check them out. They have spent their Sunday evening with me, so give them a follow if you can. But yeah, we'll stay for as long as you guys want afterwards for the after show. Dev's wanting in. He's got some issues with you, Soy Pal, and some others. But yeah, you guys can stay if you like. If you need to go, that's fine. Let's start with you, Chris, and we'll end with Destiny. You, Chris, give us your closing thoughts. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note. We sometimes forget this, but we live in an era of relative peace in the United States from political violence. So, for example, in the 1970s, according to FBI statistics, there was an 18-month period where we averaged 5 political bombings a day in the United States. At the turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s, you had labor disputes that led to dozens of people dying in dust-ups between striking laborers and the enforcement workers that were brought in to fight with them, right? So we are blessed, I think, in a lot of ways, and we should oppose things that agitate for a world where things like the Luigi incident become the new normal, especially when we have avenues to resolve problems that we might think exist. So again, I would recommend to all of you, there's a great ProPublica series on healthcare insurance claim denials. You can learn some of the data that we have about it. You can learn some of the policies that are affecting it, and you can argue for avenues that will defeat it. I think if the things that people who are pro Luigi are alleging are true, that Thompson and UHC are guilty of fraud and can be sued and potentially prosecuted on that basis. And so you should do that instead of gunning down people in the streets. I did not hear any satisfying answers tonight on where this principle stops, which sorts of C-level executives can or can't be shot, or people below them can or can't be shot. And so I see no reason to come away from this agreeing more with the people who are more in favor of Luigi than I am. Yeah. I don't really stream. I blog sometimes on Substack. It's everythingwasbeautiful.substack.com. If you want to subscribe, it's free.
Check them out, gang. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Soy Pill, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean this unironically. I do want to apologize to the audience, like if I haven't properly established, because it sounds like a lot of people don't properly think that what I believe is happening with the health insurance industry or the audio insurance industry or any insurance industry is happening to a point that is bad. You're unmuted.
I'm sorry. I'm yelling to my cat. I'm sorry.
But like genuinely, I mean, it seems that I established that if all those things were happening, there could be, it's all you can really say to the people that are suffering from it is tough shit. I don't think that's an acceptable answer. That doesn't mean I think they should go out and kill people, but it's kind of a no-win situation for those people, and it's hard for me to say that they don't they're not rightfully justified in their own thinking to say, well, if I can't have any other recourse, I'm going to go out and do something. But clearly I haven't established that. Now, it sounds to me like Destiny said he would agree were that all true to a point, which makes me just want to try to prove it better and more. And I hope that at some point you'll let me speak and try to present a better argument to you, because after reading this book, I do want to go out in the street and protest within the confines of the law. Wick, thank you for putting it together. Thanks everyone for being here. Professor, sorry we didn't get to the really moral argument because we got stuck on the other stuff. And I could pretend like I'm above this, but Destiny, I really like your stuff. I've been watching you for 7 years. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. You're always raising the bar. I mean, I've heard that your leaked tapes weren't that good, but you just glazed the shit out of Brian Thompson. So clearly you're always doing better. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. His links are in the YouTube description. Check them out. Ash, go ahead. You were muted. We can't hear you.
I feel like I emptied my own tank a little while ago. Sorry. So again, my argument differs from my colleagues here a little bit. Again, I think that we have a reasonable suspicion that something could be going wrong from people who have the means, motive, and opportunity. And again, I focus particularly heavily on the motive. And I think more importantly, their incentives to do right by their customers have actually been diminished by the Affordable Care Act. So again, I think that this provides us with some leverage. I don't think that it should continue. I hope it stops as soon as possible on both sides to the degree that it's actually happening. But again, I'm not going to weep or cry if somebody's suspected of wrongdoing and they obfuscate and lobby to obfuscate their potential wrongdoing in the face of everything else. Then I'm just not that upset about it. But I will be around for questions afterwards if Wick will have me. And also, I have a link in the chat. If you think I'm wrong about this, I have a Kickstarter coming up that was prototyped yesterday for a game, Papers, Please style game. We'll be calling it Affordable Care, in which you'll play a claims adjuster who is trying to avoid getting shot while also making a profit in a pre-ACA and a post-ACA world. And I will do my best to model that appropriately and, respectfully of everybody's wishes. If you have a nasty healthcare story, please DM me with it if you'd like to be featured.
Gang, check them out.
You can fill out the form to be notified in the comments.
Links in the comments, gang. Buckaroo, go ahead.
As I explained before, I think there are nuances within healthcare and how insurance companies use wrongful or outright fraudulent claim denials as a means of generating profit. Clearly expressed in this debate, a lot of people have massive misunderstandings or outright misinformation about the insurance industry. This results in an increased likelihood of bad faith interpretations of policies utilized by companies, as explained in the McKinsey and Company files released by Allstate. Only after using those same outlined tactics, delay, deny, defend, to avoid responsibility for the few cases their claimants can afford to take to court. When the game when this game, as they refer to it, is played with the peace of mind and health of an individual, it results in some pretty unhappy people. The ethics and advocacy for transparency, universal health care, vigilante justice aside, it's simple as fuck around and find out.
Okay, their links are in my description. Thanks for being here. Last but certainly not least, Destiny, what are your thoughts?
I think I agree mostly with the Pro Luigi people. I've had a lot of trouble recently with my Allstate insurance because they are not covering my Vyvanse for some reason. I keep going to the pharmacy telling them that Allstate is supposed to cover it, and they say, no, sorry, that's fucking car insurance. And then I keep screaming third-party liability at them over and over again. But for some reason, they're not buying drugs for me. I don't really know why. But other than that, I think that it's very funny to me that people who are literally against the death penalty, they're against the death penalty for people convicted of crimes beyond a reasonable doubt in front of a jury of their peers because they're so worried that some innocent people, and they are convicted and then sentenced to death, are somehow okay with vigilantism when it relates to a system that's so complicated that few people, even those working in healthcare, like barely understand. Like, it's funny that if you go into like the far ends of like weird, like evolutionary biology, theoretical physics, like all these crazy, whatever, like hard science things, like even those people seem like they have a better handle than when you talk about healthcare, because it is an incredibly complicated system. And even when you talk to people that are really deep into the insurance stuff, into the providing stuff, like even those people are like, why is it so expensive in the US? It's really fucking hard to say because there's like 50 million variables that are pushing against 50 million other variables at literally every single point in time. And it's hard to quantify literally anything. And a lot of these things are sensitive to different changes and who the fuck knows like what's actually going on. So the idea that we're somehow comfortable enough to say that like, yeah, we can probably kill somebody, you know, here, but we're not okay to do the death penalty because there might be somebody who's convicted beyond a reasonable doubt in a court is wholly and completely and totally inconsistent to me. It's stupid. And at the end of the day, and I'll stake my reputation on money on this, nothing is changing from the health insurance industry. Nothing is changing from healthcare at the end of this because some fucking rich white loser fuck decided to off some health insurance exec because he wanted attention or because he was mentally ill or because he spent too much time on Twitter.
Too much time on Twitter has been the death of us all. Okay, well, thanks for being here, gang. If you've enjoyed this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do shows like this as much as we possibly can. Again, if you guys want to stay for some callers, that's cool. If you need to go, I understand.
I just also really quick want to say thank you to Wick and everybody else who participated.
Absolutely. No,
I want to say Wick is the worst. And no,
it's true.
Well, like Destiny's donators said, Wick is a stinky butt. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
It was
very interesting debating politics with Philip because normally we're arguing about much more important things like Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Like you have the complete wrong.
I want to give some space to some of the new people on here to get some of their thoughts. Short Fat Otaku, then Friendly. Short Fat Otaku, give us what you thought. You were screaming in my chat, and now's your chance.
A little bit, yes, a little bit. There was one avenue that you guys kind of went down, but then kind of stopped going down it. I'm just a bit curious about it. I forget who it was, but someone brought up the banality of evil.
That was Professor.
Oh, okay, yes.
Although
the idea there,
he's quoting my essay, sorry. So both of us really, yeah, go on.
Right. So the idea there is that responsibility is abstracted away from individuals because you have people who are not intentionally evil, but they're still doing evil actions, and that's why you have the example of the Nazi prison guard or the guy who's just filing paperwork, right? So the question I have is how far does that principle extend, right? Like, do you want to shoot people who peddle vices because vices destroy people's lives, right?
Yeah, no, this is a good question. So I said this in my video. Well, sorry, I'm assuming you're asking me because I was one of the ones who brought it up.
I'm asking everyone, basically, yeah.
Sure, sorry, I'm already going. So what I said in my video. So my video was actually saying I don't think it's good that we are killing people. I think that reformative justice is preferred. That's why I don't believe in the death penalty, like Destiny brought up. I think that these people can probably be shown the evil of their actions potentially if they saw like the harm they're causing directly, even though they know it's happening. It's very, very, very nebulous. It's disassociated. They're not seeing the direct actions, and I think that would be a better way to try to reform people like this. The difference in the banality of evil is that Adolf Eichmann, the guy who was orchestrating the trains to Auschwitz and all that, went to visit the camps. He saw Jews being murdered, and he's quoted as saying, "I will go into my grave smiling because I have 5 million Jews' deaths on my hands." So like he had no remorse, and I think that when they executed him in Israel or whatever, that's probably potentially, yeah, I'd say that's probably justified. Like he literally just completely unreformable, did not feel sorry at all. But yeah, I don't think that Brian Thompson is unreformable. Well, he is now, but in concept. So.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to him, like knowing what's going on, and then saying, I don't care. But I mean, the example of the banality of evil is usually brought up is of the person who doesn't know what's going on or who is willfully blind to it, where like he could know, but he decides not to look at it. So like, let's say you have the CEO of a company that sells cigarettes, right? And cigarettes kills people like crazy. Do you want to shoot him? Like,
do I want to? I mean,
well, would it be okay if you did in the same way that it's like,
no, not. I don't want to live in a world where that's the way we solve things. But at the same time, like, that's, I guess it's also a completely different argument because cigarettes, yeah, they're addictive. Yeah, you could argue same with gambling. Like, people are coerced into this, but people have to make that initial jump to starting that, and it's a lot harder to place the blame versus someone like directly denying you care or something. Which again, even then, I don't necessarily agree with shooting him. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
No.
Well, because then you can also extend it to like, well, what about voting, right? Because if we're gonna go down the road of even abstracted responsibility should have direct consequences. Like, well, if you vote for the wrong guy and that guy does something terrible, should you get shot for that? Like, I think no.
Oh, no.
No, this is, I think, ridiculous, and it's something I didn't get to disagree with my colleagues here earlier on, is responsibility. So responsibility has like these two different aspects where it's like, all right, what did you do? And then what was the context in which you did it? Obviously, I'm not saying anything special there. If the incentives were set up for you to do something harmful to somebody else, I'm going to look at your proxy. I'm going to look at your amount of agency. I'm going to try to put a price on your agency and how much authority you had over that situation and what you could have done theoretically to stop it and change the outcome in a meaningful way. And in cases like that, I am going to look further up the chain because as you go up the chain, generally speaking, that involves people, that's going to involve people who have more power
on that chain.
What's up?
You're like, okay, I understand.
Wait, I think I think real quick, just echoing what Ash said, this is, whether we know it or not, intuitively, this is what we all feel, and it's true to a large extent. When you think about evil and when you think about good, okay, when you think about morality, one of the big challenges to people that believe in determinism and why we have things like compatibilism is because to assign people or to ascribe malice or evil to some extent to somebody's actions, we have to first give them some level of agency. There's a reason why we don't say that a tree that falls on us acted evilly. It's because the tree couldn't have done anything differently, right? It's why a socialist will say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, is because the idea might be that a person is so enslaved to the system that it's not like they could do anything regardless. So when you're going after people that are on these rungs of the ladder that are so far low, it's like hard to say like, well, would the expectation ordinarily be for a human to suicide themselves to fight against some system? And then also, like, shouldn't we have some trust that the system we're operating in resembles the laws of society such that if we operate within the bounds of those laws, we're ensured like some level of protection by the state? Like, even if they might be doing things that are somewhat questionable, because I mean, what are we as citizens of a state with some negative freedoms guaranteed to us, if not the freedom from, you know, like harm against our person, you know, like, and we believe in this so strongly that even if we do decide that something is illegal, you can't make something illegal and then retroactively prosecute people for it. Let's say we decide tomorrow that veganism is the law of the land. You can't prosecute people who had broken a law that was just made illegal. That's how strongly we feel about this principle. So the idea that you might be acting fully within the bounds of society, and some people in society might reasonably disagree about the amount of harm you're causing, which is fair, they can have that disagreement, but part of the agreement of living in a society with a functioning judicial system is the idea that, like, even though some people disagree, we're going to all play by these rules. And vigilantism is basically a statement saying society has failed to such an egregious extent that I have to take the law into my own hands. And like in a failed state, like, I can understand it, but I don't think we're anywhere near that point yet.
Yeah, there's something
earlier. It's a referendum on, you know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to hear what Eucharist says, then you can go.
Yeah, I need to pop off. Thank you for having me, Wick. But there was something I was going to bring up earlier. It didn't really become relevant. But there's a really great article at the Daily News, which is like a philosophy website. A philosopher wrote this article on this topic specifically, and he concedes most of the arguments that the pro-Luigi people are making. His three claims that he concedes are: UHC systematically defrauded its policyholders by refusing to cover contractually obligated medically necessary treatments. Failing to prevent harms resulting from refusing to cover medically necessary treatments is as or almost as wrong as causing those harms. and Brian Thompson, the CEO, specifically exacerbated those harms in his tenure as a CEO. He concedes all of those, and he still makes the moral case that even if you concede those, that you should not kill this guy because of exactly what Destiny was saying. He makes a sort of Lockean social contract kind of argument that like what we do in a state is we've ceded some of our rights to avenge ourselves to an institutional body that rectifies these disputes. If these things are true, he's committed crimes, or maybe he's civilly liable for things, and we should prosecute him through the ordinary channels. But the claim that he makes that I think is the most salient or the most punchy, I guess, is that I personally do not trust armed Americans acting privately to determine which CEOs should be killed and which should be allowed to live, especially in a social environment where misinformation is rampant. It's not hard to imagine a future in which private citizens begin assassinating academics they view as a danger or harm to society. I think he makes a very powerful case throughout
that podcasters or all sorts of
right, exactly. Right. So I think he makes a very good case here. I'll share it in the group chat and in the general chat and stuff in Wick's channel, but I think it's a good article, and I think it goes to Destiny's point. And so, yeah, that's basically my position as well.
Sure. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Yep. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep. I love you guys too. I got to tag out, so be careful. I love you. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, sure, get out.
Jesus. I feel like this is another one of those hot button topics where like 90% of the disagreement or 99% just stems from like the fundamental understanding of the thing itself. But whatever. Yep. Okay. Well, I love you guys. I want to go do stuff. Mustache guy seems cool. He has rights. Rights. I'm sorry. He has privileges. Not rights. Privileges. Perms. He has perms in my Discord. He is a cool dude. Oh, connections. What do I have tomorrow? I got a lot of, my next few days are pretty weird, but. Okay, we'll do connections, then I'm leaving, abandoning you motherfuckers. Okay, 1 second. Beach, date, lock, cherry, fur, maroon, time, pair, strand, head, location, brick, duration, you, ruby, and wisp. Okay, hair. Fur is like hair, a lock of hair, a strand of hair, a wisp of hair. Fur doesn't really fit here though. Oh, a head of hair, a full head of hair? No shot, right? A strand of hair, a wisp of hair, a lock of hair, a head of hair. I'm going to waste both my guesses on this. I'm just going to be a total fucking bait. Oh, God, I'm so good. Okay. Oh, like what do you need for a meeting? You need the duration, the date, the location, and the time. Pear, brick, beach, ruby, maroon, maroon 5, like a band or groups, or brick layer, fur layer, pear layer, no. Poker hands, no. Pear, beach, fur, you, ruby, cherry. Ruby, brick, pear. You, ruby, brick, maroon, fur, beach, pear. Okay. We're going to do pear. Wait. Pear is like a fruit. Hold on. Pear is a fruit. Cherry is not. I don't actually know. Oh, cherries are fruits. Maroons. Maroon? It's not a fruit. Wait, what the fuck is a maroon? When you're like marooned on a beach. Like when you're stranded. Bricked. The computer system is bricked. It's not good anymore. No. Hold on. Oh, I got it. Wait. This would be the greatest guess of all time. Although I don't think it will be. Do, like the gambling slot machines, like you can get like cherries for like a bonus or like a pear or rubies or bricks. Oh my God. Beach for you, maroon. Beach, you, fur, you, fur. A beach ball, a fur ball. No, it'd be a hair ball, right? What doesn't fit? Brick, cherry, ruby, pear. Beach, you, fur. Brick, cherry. These are all things. A beach is kind of a thing. Beach. This is a shade of red. Brick red. Look, it doesn't even give me, it's not even the same colors that comes up. What color is a brick? Bricks are like red and... Bricks are different colors. Wait, have you even seen a brick in real life? Hold on. What are you talking about? Look. This is not a consistent color. Fuck you. Tree homophones. A beech tree? A fir tree? A pear tree? And a yew tree? Whatever. Oh, yew from RuneScape. Oh my God. All right. Be careful. Don't die. Stay safe.